Hello. This is a prepaid debit call from
Hasan.
an inmate at the Ohio State Penitentiary.
Hello?
Hello, Brother Hasan. How are you?
All things considered, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
No, thank you. We're very honored to have you on the call. So I don't know if you wanted to say a little bit. We were just hearing from the brothers in Free Alabama.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Okay, so can someone give me a synopsis of what was said this far, and then I will just add a step.
Absolutely. So we were hearing from the brothers in Alabama about the conditions, the solitary confinement, and we heard a little bit about the organizing that you all have been doing for the upcoming strike on September 9th.
Okay. So you want me to pick up from there then?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I was saying greetings to the brother. Perhaps you know someone that's on the line. Brother, I know you're not revolutionary greetings and salute. So the thing that I would like to mention is that a lot of people have been asking me the question about not only the national movement that's scheduled for September, but they want to know, they noticed that all across the country, even if right in your own state, on Rikers Island in New York, Texas, Alabama, Holman, Ohio State Penitentiary, a Southern Ohio Correction Facility, and many other places throughout the country, Texas, Virginia, you name it, there seems to be an ongoing resistance movement that is going on. And what is causing this resistance, and the best way that I could actually put that is that repression or oppression breeds resistance. And when you have this type of oppression, persecution, tyranny, and disregard for human life, human suffering, whether it be psychological, physically, or otherwise, it all amounts to torture. And at any given time in this country, you have 80,000 people that are actually in solitary confinement. And the experts and commentators, they have already said that long-term solitary confinement is detrimental to the mental, the psychological, and the physical health of human beings. But the powers that be, they do not care. I mean, when they tell the people in the public something, that we're trying to really rehabilitate these people, we're trying to prepare them for their reentry back into society, and they find all these euphemism words or the right things to say, it's only actually for public consumption. Because those of us that are behind enemy lines, we understand emphatically that that is a myth, that is a blatant lie. There's no such thing, for the most part, of rehabilitation in the system. Not when it comes to the prison cracks actually rehabilitating people, because basically what they are doing, they are inducing people to actually fail. Statistics shows that when people have regular communication with their family and when they have support from their family in the community, the recidivism rate, that is, those who are returning back to incarceration, a life of imprisonment, it is reduced in half. So if the system is actually trying to rehabilitate people or trying to have people to have that connecting relationship between themselves, their family, friends, and
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
let me reiterate that. If the prison authorities or the prison crafts was really interested in rehabilitation and wanting the people to have that connection and relationship between themselves, their family, friends, and loved ones, and their supporters, then they would be creating the means and the circumstances to help them to maintain that beautiful relationship. But take, for example, in Ohio, you have people that are indigent. There was a time when they would give a person a free letter, meaning that the state will provide it, and the person can, on a weekly basis, and the person will have the opportunity to write whomever they want to, stay in touch with them. But they have only reduced that now, so a person only gets one state free letter per week. Just recently, last year, when myself and some other comrades here was on a hunger strike here at this institution, the FCC stepped in, the Federal Communication Commission. They stepped in and reduced the phone calls here and throughout the country on a large scale. Take, for example, in Ohio, for me to make a call from one city in Ohio to another city would actually cost $5 for a 15-minute phone call. And for me to call from here anyway out of the state of Ohio, it would be anywhere from $15 to $22 for a 15 minutes call. That was extortion. So if it is actually true that they want prisoners to maintain communication with their family, why were they charging these exorbitant rates for people to maintain communication? Why it is that people in California, all the way to Mississippi and to New York and various different places, away from their family members cannot pay for these expensive phone calls. They would not be able to travel the distance to visit their loved ones. So again, all the stuff what the prison authorities or the prison cracks are telling the people in public, that is only for public consumption. It does not really register. President know it is, again, that we understand emphatically that it's a blatant lie. It's just a myth. So when you're dealing with this type of oppression, persecution, and forbidding us from maintaining contact with our family, friends, and loved ones.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
It's one of the problems among many problems that prisoners feel the need to actually challenge. And just tonight, I was watching on 60 Minutes before I went out for a rec for a couple of minutes and made prayers with one of my brothers. On 60 Minutes, they were talking about the problems they have on Racker Islands, about how the prison authorities, the people in authorities like captains, etc., people being mentally disturbed, and they place these people in solitary confinement, and they give them no medical attention. They be suffering from mental illness. Some of them have diabetes and other medical problems. They give them no attention, and the captains and those in authorities would say, look, if it's not for a cell extraction, or if it's not a body, meaning a person has hung themselves, killed themselves, don't be bothering me with that nonsense, that nonsense. And as a result, people are actually dying. So when you have this kind of disconnect, this vindictiveness among the prison authorities, because a person comes to prison, they, media portrays it the way the power that be want to portray it to the concerned citizen society, is that we are the enemies of society. And when you create this enemy, us against them, then people have the tendency to treat us like that. But as I always try to point out to people, a human being does not lose their value, or their value is not diminished just because they're incarcerated. I mean, people make bad mistakes. Some people are forced that by necessity to try to provide for their family. They can't get jobs. We understand that a job is important to support. It's important to help you get the things that you actually need. And when a person cannot provide for them family, in certain situations, they are forced by necessity. But that one mistake that they made out of necessity, it doesn't define who they are. You have the cause and the sex. The effects is that they committed a crime against their will. They didn't want to do it, but they was forced by necessity. But what was the cause? It was man inconsiderateness toward other man, not wanting to give him a job or not wanting to give her a job, that prompted them to do the things that they actually did. And another thing that people are actually focusing on, and the main issue that we're focusing on, is that we are commodities. As those behind enemy lines, corporate America and the powers that be, they consider us to be commodities. Just like during the time of slavery, the slave master would try to get a healthy person in one family to mate with a woman to mate with a man, and try to produce more and more kids that they possibly can, because the more kids they have, they will raise them, they will toil the field, they will do all the labor, and they will benefit financially, economically, as a result of these many offsprings coming into existence. And when we take what happened back then and look at what's happening today, nothing has changed. There's nothing new up under the sun. It's the same revolving door, the same nonsense that exists back then, the same nonsense that exists today. One of the things I would try to point out, take for example, in California, you have anywhere from 3,800 to 4,000 prisoners that are...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
You have 3,800 to 4,000 prisoners that are firefighters. And we know in the West Coast in California, you're always getting fires that are being started accidentally, intentionally, whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. Those prisoners are firefighters. They're out there putting their life on the line, putting out the fires. And if one or some of them die in the process, the prison cracks, they do not tell the media that these was prisoners. They tell them that they was firefighters. But my point is this. The point I'm trying to drop home is this. if a prisoners can be a firefighters and put out fires and put their lives on the line, and if they can work for the state and being paid for nothing, nothing or very little for their work, these same prisoners can get out in society, and if they apply for a job as a firefighter or apply for some other meaningful employment, they have to fill out the box, and in filling out the box, they have to say they're the convicted felons, and as a result, they're being denied the job. People do not call them back. But if it's good for the goose, it should be good for the gander. What I mean by that, if they can work for the establishment or work for the state while they're incarcerated, and they label it's good, why isn't their label cannot be good and healthy for the community upon their release? It's simple. They're exploiting people for financial gains, and when they're being released from prison, they put them in a catch-22. They are inducing people to fail because now a person has a family, they have no means of support, they feel less than a man or less than a woman when they cannot provide for their children, their spouse, and as a result, they're being forced by necessity to commit various different crimes. And basically what we're saying is that enough is enough. It has come to a head, and we're unifying our efforts, and we understand that there's strength and actually numbers, and we're going to challenge this. Because one of the most deadly and destructive diseases that is affecting us as a community, both inside and outside, from behind enemy lines and those citizens out of society, is disunity. But now we're coming together, those behind enemy lines, along with our family, friends, loved ones, and supporters out in society, and we're saying enough is enough, and for once and for all, we're going to bring this situation to a head. And that's just some of the things I have narrated, off the tip of my head, but there are many issues that are going on that people in the public are not aware of. And a lot of time what happens, too, when you're looking at mainstream media, they have demonized prisoners. They have put prisoners in a position as being some of the most low-down, psychological, depressing thing in the world. And like I said earlier, they have considered us to be the enemy. And when you consider someone to be your enemy, you have become detached and desensitized toward their concerns, the things that affect them as human beings, because you see them as an enemy and you're going to treat them as such. But I wish to reiterate, a human being does not lose his or her value. Our value is not diminished because of our incarceration. People make mistakes all the time. But I'm a firm believer that in order for a person to make a mistake, he or she must be willing to accept full responsibility from that mistake. We still maintain our humanity. We're still a human being. We have not lost our value. And I will be the first to tell you that in spite of the decades that I have been behind enemy lines, I have the same tools, the same potentials, and the same humanity, and the same capacity.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And the same capacity for development that every other human being have. And that's not to toot my own horn. I know many brothers and sisters behind enemy lines that have those same tools, those same potentials, that same humanity that any other human beings have. But the thing is, because society, and especially the media, they have demonized us and try to take away our humanity. People in society, for the most part, have become less sympathetic toward what goes on behind enemy lines. But we're trying to put a new face on that, and God willing, we're going to succeed in what we're trying to do. Come what may, and let the wind blow wherever. We're going forward in the spirit of our predecessors.
I know you're almost out of time. Can you tell us real quick about the action, the strike plan for the 9th?
Okay, no, they're getting ready to cut me off. I'm going to call right back, because I can call right back.
Okay, great.
They're going to click me off.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm back with you.
nice to have you back, Brother Hasan.
Yeah, you was asking me a question, but I know we're going to get enough time. Could you reiterate what you were getting ready to ask me?
Sure. We wanted to know a little bit about, as much as you're able to say about how y'all inside have been organizing for the actions plan for the anniversary of Attica.
Well, at first, there was a discussion. There's many different ways to communicate. in my state, we don't have the problem with inmate-to-inmate correspondence. In Ohio, we can communicate with any inmate we choose to. But other states, they do not have that luxury. But there's other ways to get around that. I mean, it can be as simple as someone coming to visit me. I have them deliver a message to one of the supporters from the Free Alabama movement out of society, and either they will convey it by phone or they will convey it on a visit. Some of them other.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
And for those of us that are well-read, we are vivid readers, and we do an extensive amount of reading, and we see the various different problems that are going on behind enemy lines. It troubles us, and when we see brothers and sisters write articles, and we see the issues that they are speaking to, and we see the revolutionary spirit that is actually in them, then we try to create the means and circumstances to reach out to these individuals through some of our outside supporters. So at first we had considered the possibility and probability of doing this on August the 1st, which would be Black August. And we decided, no, that perhaps they exclude some of our European brothers, the brothers of other ethnic groups. They may be not fond of the word Black August. So then, after we had the assassination of the revolutionary, one of our elders, Hugo Yogi Bear Panel in California, after being in solitary confinement for 46 years, he was killed by two Aryan Brotherhood, and it was orchestrated by the correction officers and stuff. We thought about the possibilities of doing that, but again, we still may be excluding some of our European brothers. That's not to take any away from our elders. I mean, we hold him dear to our heart, but in the final analysis, we came up, well, look, everybody can agree to what happened in Attica. It was man injustice toward man that conquered those brothers, white, black, Puerto Ricans, young, old, etc., to come together and to check on the powers that be. So that is how we came up with on the 45th anniversary of Attica. But it was not the initial date. We were just discussing the pros and cons and what would be more feasible, where everybody would feel a part of this struggle and say, look, enough is enough. We have to go forward again in the spirit of our righteous predecessors. Whether it be Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus and Sarah Garvey, even Nat Turner, it doesn't matter. Those brothers, they took a stance against injustice, and as the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the same problem is going on here in my state. They're going on in the state of Alabama, Texas. It's going on actually around the country. But we have been fighting sometimes the powers that be individually, meaning that we've been doing it within the institutions. Sometimes that we have did it on a statewide level, and people have.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Prisoners have been filing informal complaints. We have a problem. We're supposed to go through this complaint system. We complain to the person of authority, and if they don't resolve it to our satisfaction, we file a grievance, and the grievance will go to someone within the institution, but it's his or her job to oversee these problems and try to resolve them to the prisoner's satisfaction. But they all part of the same system. So, and it's hard to get anything resolved. And then if you're dissatisfied with the institution inspector has said, then you can file it to the chief inspector office, which means it would be the capital of each state. And we still haven't, for the most part, been able to get anything resolved. After that, prisoners have went on hunger strike. Prisoners have been vandalizing, tearing up stuff, burning stuff, destroying state property, and they end up taxing themselves because the state would end up charging you the money that your family send you. They take it out of your account. So it comes to the point, look, we're going to try almost everything up under the sun. And we get a little to something accomplished, but the problem is still going on. So how do we deal with this problem once and for all? I mean, to the state, we are commodities to them. They are benefiting from us, and we come to the conclusion that the best way to deal with them is to challenge them economically. We live in a capitalistic society, and one of the ways to hurt these people is to hurt them by destroying or diminishing their overhead or their profits in their wallets and pocketbooks. So that's the point that we reach now. That, again, enough is enough, and we're going to push that. And if this doesn't work, then we still don't give up. It's a struggle. The word I'd like to use is jihad, and it's a misunderstood word by those that are non-Muslim. The word jihad comes from the word jihada, which means to strive, to struggle, to exert oneself by way of speech, by way of writing, and as a last result, if it means armed struggle, if it's weapon is necessary. So we've reached the point that this is a jihad. We're struggling, and we're struggling against the powers that be that are trying to continuously torture us and put us in a position that we have no choice. So it comes to that point where we're just going to move forward. And if this doesn't work, then keep trying. We're not going to give up, because our fight is a righteous fight. And if we die in the process, so it be. We would die as martyrs, taking on the establishment from exploiting us, economically exploiting us.
Thank you, Brother Hassan. I think we're all incredibly moved by that, especially given your situation and how everyone's fighting back under such difficult conditions. I don't know if there are any more questions that people have from the audience that they can think of now.
Yeah.
Evan.
What are some of the ways that people on the outside can get hurt the wallets of the prison administrations, as well as the companies that are benefiting from prison labor?
Did you get that?
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat the question? And then if someone else has a question, can you have them come up to the phone because I need to hear more clear? But for now, can you repeat this question?
Yeah.
Or could you have them come to the phone and repeat it?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, absolutely. So the question was, what are the ways that people on the outside can hurt the wallets of those who are benefiting from prison labor and exploitation and slavery in prisons?
Well, one of the decisions that was made from the brothers in Alabama, that we're going to target, first of all, one of the corporate companies that are benefiting from prisoner labor, that will be McDonald's. And McDonald's is not the only one that is benefited, but we chose them. And I can't recall if they mentioned why, or if I read anything why they mentioned why. But me analyzing the situation, I feel that it would be best to challenge one corporation or one people that exploiting prisoner labor as opposed to many at one time. Because if we spread our wings too far and take on 10 corporations, then they may not feel the financial pinch of the financial crunch, because we got our strength spread in too many directions. But if we focus on McDonald's and we pick it outside their place and we have people to boycott, and a lot of college companies, college students, colleges and universities, they are now investing in corporations that are exploiting prisoners' labor. So the best thing that people can actually do is we're going to be making up flyers and information pamphlets and circulating them in due time. But what people can do, they can help us protest outside of McDonald's. They can help us to do leafleting protesting, picking outside these establishments. And if we focus on one establishment, and when they begin to feel the financial crunch as a result of our stiff resistance that we're putting up, it will, God willing, send a message to the other corporations. You're not safe. We're coming at you too. We just chose this one first. And we're coming at you, so either you straighten up your act or you suffer the consequences. It's just simple. We have to hit these people where it actually hurts. And again, it's in their wallets and in their pocketbooks. And people can also help too by helping us to send the message on Facebook, spreading the message, because we're not trying to sweep it up under the rug. We're not trying to keep silent what our intentions are. No, we go.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Because in order for people, and it's like now, I'm in the confines of my cell, and if I were to take the ink pen or piece of pencil and write something in the palm of my hand, you cannot see that. Or even if someone was in my cell with me, they cannot see what I see unless I turn it around and show them what I've written in my hand. So we have to be able to, instead of allowing people in society to define us, we have to speak for ourselves instead of being defined and spoken for by others. We have to expose what is going on and once again make people care about the quality of life or the lack of the quality of life that exists in these prisons. So we hope that those that are present today, if they know someone who has radio stations, television stations, who can help us get on college campuses, who can help us get inside the churches, or various different events that they can help us organize events where we can call in and enlighten the people and share what is truly going on behind enemy lines. That would be a blessing, because the more people become aware of what's going on, mainly what they would say, I didn't know that was going on. Yes, the reason you don't know what's going on, the reason for 23 years that the state of Ohio has now allowed media to come and interview myself and some of my other comrades, or whether it be on video or audio recording, because they try to suppress our message. They portray us as being, again, some of the most low-down psychological thing in the world. We're incorrigible, we're uncaring, we're unsympathetic monsters. We're beyond being able to be reformed. That is the narrative that they're giving the people in the public. But when people had the opportunity to speak with us over the phone, in our presence, to correspond with us, they see a different story. These people are educated. They are very compassionate. They are serious about what it is they are fighting for. They're willing to put their lives on the line. The few privileges that they give us, they don't care about that. Again, come what may and let the wind blow wherever. People can see there's a different side to us when the media and the public is trying, certain members of the public is trying to portray. So again, you can help us by helping us get our message out. That would be the most important thing that you could actually do.
Thank you. Are there any other questions that people have? Sorry.
In what way does McDonald's use prison labor?
I didn't catch that.
In what way does McDonald's use prison labor?
Like I said, that decision was made by the comrades in Alabama, from the Free Alabama movement. And my thing, I've always tried to be supportive of people. I know they from my understanding, I think they McDonald's, perhaps Wendy's, and some of these other fast food establishments, they have prisoner making beef patties, etc. like that. So if one of the brothers or sisters from Alabama is on the line, or they support us on the outside, they would be in a better position to address that. Again, like I said, I didn't think it would be wise to take on more than one establishment, and they made the decision with regards to McDonald's, and I hear and I'll support their decision. So if you have one on the line, they can better address his question, answer his question.
Yeah, we'll try to call them back after we get off the phone with you. Another question that we had was if you could say anything that you know about the brothers in Texas who were on
This
strike.
call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Go ahead, repeat your question.
About if you know anything, or even if you just have thoughts about the brothers in Texas who are on strike right now.
Yes, I commend them, because from some of the material that I was reading,
You have 1 minute remaining.
some of the material I was reading from Brother Booth, I think it was Kelvin Malik Washington. He was saying that he was commending the brothers in California, how they had 30,000 soldiers from the beginning to initiate a hunger strike. And he was saying that in Texas, you're not going to find that type of unity. It's hard for people to miss one meal. And I understand that. I mean, missing meals is not an easy matter. It takes a lot of strength, a lot of discipline to do that. So when I heard that Texas was saying enough is enough, they're tired of being treated as slaves, and they're going to challenge the problem that was going on, I commend them. I basically salute them. So I commend them on what they're actually doing. And brothers around the country are seeing that they're stepping up to the plate, and some are planning on joining them as this will continue to go on. So yes, we commend those brothers, and it's about time that they step up to the plate. I mean, they've reached that point. Like I say, repression breeds resistance, and that is what's happening. They've tried.
Thank you for using GTL. Thank you for using GTL.
What time your program's supposed to end? 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it's supposed to end at 10 o'clock.
Okay. So what we do, I'll make this the last call, and then I'll leave time for the other brothers to come back on and to address the issue, answer the question about McDonald's and any other final things in the comments they want to expound on.
Okay, thank you, Brother Hassan. We really appreciate it. And real fast, before we lose you later, we are recording this, and we wanted to know if you would feel comfortable with us distributing it, or if you'd rather keep it just between us.
No, again, I'm not a coward. I mean, I speak truth to power, and my name is Siddique, a man of veracity, a man of truth, and I fear no one but Allah. So you may do whatever you choose to. I mean, what I'm doing, there's nothing new about what I'm doing. The prison authorities, they know me, they know how my position on certain things. And in fact, my religion tells me to stand up for truth, no matter who it's for or against. Even if it's against my own brother, I should speak the truth. And if I'm going to try to live up to the true meaning of my full name, Siddique, a man of veracity, a true friend, a loyal friend, then I have to be willing to speak the truth.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Can't hide behind the truth. And if my late mother was here today, she would tell you she had 4 siblings and she didn't raise none of us to be no cowards. So again, you may do whatever you choose to with it.
Thank you.
And hope they be beneficial.
Thank you. Thank you for that. One other question we had was we were wondering, a comrade asked if you know of any retaliation that's happened against the brothers in Texas or elsewhere.
No, I've not heard of any yet, but it's not a whole lot of reports actually coming out of Texas. But I would say this. I never recall in my home state in Georgia when the brothers had went on work stoppage. Someone was actually jumped on by the what they call the security response team. One brother was beaten with a hammer, and this happened in 2010. So that's 6 years ago. And if I'm not mistaken, all those brothers who engaged in that struggle are still locked down in solitary confinement. And it's a sad commentary on our part, meaning those of us behind enemy lines and those of us out in society who are actually activists. When people step up to the plate and fight in righteous cause, I think that we should not leave those people for dead. It's just like if people was out in society and if an unarmed person was killed by the police, and if people be out there protesting and one thing leads to another, and even though we're not there to be vandalism and tearing up the structure of someone's business, but if those things happen, we should not leave those brothers and sisters for dead. We should get them on bond, and if we have a beef with them, then we should sit down, discipline them, admonish them, and let them know that this is not what we're here for, but nevertheless, we're not going to leave them for dead. So in this particular movement, all those brothers and sisters, whether they be in Alabama, whether they be in Texas, if they have been punished as a result of what they're doing.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Or whether it be in Georgia, one of our demands should be those brothers and sisters should be released from solitary confinement because, again, repression breeds resistance. They try all the avenues and mechanisms that you put the institutions put in place, and when they did not work, you leave them no choice but to fire with fire, to do what they did to try to bring about some meaningful results. So again, we should stand up for those brothers, and that should be one of our core demands, that those comrades be released from behind enemy lines. Well, not enemy lines, excuse me. They should be released from solitary confinement, control units, or wherever they're at, and they should be released back in general population and continue to do the things that they normally did, going to school, trying to get them education, engaging in vocational skills, and participating in groups, activities, so they can better themselves. So when they be released back into society, they will be a credit or an access to the community in which they hail from. But keeping them locked up in solitary confinement for taking a stance, that don't make any sense. I mean, people have a right to defend themselves. People have a right to stand up for what they believe in. What is so wrong about that? Bernie Sanders is saying that he's engaging in a political revolution. When the Oscars, when people with blacks was being slighted and not being given Oscars for their activities or what they engaged in, and they said they was going to boycott the Oscars. They are not being locked up. No one's saying they're doing anything wrong. So what is so wrong about prisoners being mistreated and decide they're going to engage in a peaceful protest? Why should we allow those brothers and sisters to be punished and locked up in solitary confinement? No, we should step up to the plate and scream and make noise with force and determination, saying we're not going to tolerate it. Release our comrades from these concentration camps. and these hellholes that you put them in. They haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah. Thank you for that. What other questions?
Mm-hmm.
What other questions do people have while we?
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Go ahead and give us about 9 minutes left on this call. Like I say, when I hang up, I'm not going to call back. I want to give other brothers and sisters opportunity to call in and speak.
Okay, thank you.
What are some of your struggles that you have to unify people within the facility in order for you to all have some type of resistance, collective resistance inside?
You talking about my personal struggles?
No, what struggles to unify people, prisoners within the facility?
Oh, okay. Take, for example, I'm on death row, myself and 3 other comrades here. We were sentenced to death as a result of the 1993 prison uprising that happened at the maximum security prison in Lucasville, Ohio, which is called the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility, but is known to the convict body as Lucasville. Now, we are on death row. When they had other prisoners here on death row, they was given an enormous amount of privilege. They would have semi-contact visits. They was allowed food boxes, clothing boxes from outside vendors. They would have access to utilize the computer to participate in their appeals. They would study and do research and work with their attorneys on their cases. They was given a lot of times out of range recreation. They was given opportunity to use the phone on a regular basis. We had none of those privileges, and the list goes on and on and on. But the state was being vindictive because we was convicted in the Lucasville uprising. They decided they wanted to punish us. Well, we went to court in outside judiciary proceedings, and we was found guilty by a jury, although we disagreed with the decision by the jury. That's neither here nor there. The reality is that we was already punished. And the U.S. constitutional law, it prohibits multiple punishment for the same offense. So we was continuously being punished by the prison press, and we went on a hunger strike 1 month after the brothers in Georgia went on their work stoppage. So we went on hunger strike in January 2011, and after being on it 10 to 14 days, we were successful. All the things that I just mentioned to you, we got all that and some, but we had to put up some stiff resistance. We should have had that coming through the door because every other person on death row was being given that, and we were successful and put together online petitions. We had doctors, lawyers, medical students, activists, a whole host of various different people that came to our aid and seen the legitimate in our struggle. And all praise be to the Most High, we were successful in that particular struggle. So we overcame that. And that's one of the reasons, too, that I can get to use the phone now. Because prior to that, we had limited privilege to the phone.
Well, we're all benefiting from the hard struggle that you guys put in. So thank you for that. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's been a struggle.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think we have a few more minutes.
Do you face resistance from other prisoners who do not want to organize with you, and how do you overcome that?
No, unfortunately, I've never faced that. Everybody knows me, know that I'm a revolutionary. I'm an agent of change. I believe in fighting for that which is right. If you disagree with it, we can disagree without becoming disagreeable. I've never had any physical resistance, any psychological, any mental person trying to discourage me from what I'm trying to do. For the most part, people commend me on my revolutionary efforts. Some people may have said they have wished they had the strength that I've actually had. It's amazing that...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
It's amazing that I would stand up to the prison authorities. I would use my funds, because I have to pay for these phone calls. I use my funds. I use my support network on the outside to try to bring about changes and things, fighting against injustice. Take, for example, last year when guys went on a hunger strike, they took range recreation from them. They would not allow certain people on a certain level to attend religious service. The food was inadequate nutrition and unsanctuary, and many other problems they was having. None of it affected me. But nevertheless, I went on a hunger strike. I contact various different people in the media that I have contact with, the Associated Press, National Public Radio, other local publications, my supporters, and we came together and we was granted a resounding victory. And the prison authority kept coming to my cell. Why are you doing this? You get all this stuff. Why are you doing it? I said, because it's wrong. And when I see injustice, now Islam tells us this: whenever you see an evil, that you should try to stop it with your hands. And if you're too weak or unable to do that, then you should speak out against it, meaning that one should lift up his or her voice, speaking up against the evil that one actually sees. And if you're unable or either you're too weak to do that, then you should at least hate it in your heart, because the heart is the weakest of faith. But if you cannot hate an evil that you actually see in your heart, then there's no faith left in you. Your faith has vanished like the morning mist. So in those situations where I'm able to stop a wrong or evil that I see with my hands, then so it be. I'm going to do that. And when I'm unable to do that, and if I can lift up my voice and speak with force and determination to try to detour or to prevent the evil from going on, I'm going to do that. And if I ever become to the point where I can't speak, and I still maintain my sanity, then at the very least, I'm going to hate the wrong in my heart. I mean, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, and I intend to be true to this until the day that I actually leave the face of this earth. So we just have to, when we know something is wrong, we have to stand up and challenge it.
So, did you say that you were on death row because of your participation in an uprising in 1993? Is that the reason you were on death row currently?
No, I was not on death. No, I was not on death. Well, I'm on death row now.
Right.
When in 1993, I was 1 year to the parole board, and there was a problem that happened in the prison where the prison authorities was trying to force Muslims to take a TB test. They said it was a public health issue, and for security reasons, they needed to test everyone. We had no objection to them giving us a TB test. We had a problem with the type of test they wanted to give us, which was the Mantua tuberculin skin test, and it contains phenol. Phenol is an alcoholic substance. It's not permissible for a Muslim to consume alcohol, to sell alcohol, to transport alcohol, to inject it in his system. Whether it's a volatile substance and it evaporates when you put it in the individual, it's insignificant. The fact is we're not supposed to be involved in alcohol. So what happened was one thing led to another. We was intended to be a peaceful protest, and what was intended to be a peaceful protest, they got out of hand, and it became a full-scale rebellion because I was the spiritual leader and head for the Muslims. The state used me as a scapegoat. They didn't say I killed anyone. In fact, they claim I didn't kill anyone, but they're saying because of my power and influences, other people actually did it. So yes, I'm on death row today, but prior to being on death row, I was in an honor pod on working on the apprenticeship program. I was 1 year from going home. I was 1 year to the parole board, but the state railroaded me, and I'm actually on death row. But I'm good. I mean, the best way to put it is like this, because we run out of time. Take, for example, I don't know if any of y'all know the story about Prophet Joseph, when he was sold into slave by his brothers, and he went into Egypt. And the second in command of Egypt, not the Pharaoh, but the second in command, his right-hand man, his wife tried to seduce Joseph, tried to rape him. And when someone caught her, she claimed...
You have 1 minute remaining.
She claimed that she tried to rape him.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Put in prison, and later he was exonerated for the crime in which he was accused of. He did not lose faith. He continued to teach the Word of God. He intended to invite his fellow prisoners to the Word of God, trying to get them to better themselves. So just like Joseph was in prison for a crime that he did not commit, and he was eventually exonerated, I'm in prison for a crime that I did not commit, or crimes I did not commit, and God willing, God will create the means and circumstances to create my speedy release from prison. And until that time comes, I'm still will be engaged in the struggle. Peace, love you. Thanks for having me on your program. And God willing, hopefully we can do this again.
Peace, Brother Hasan.
And if anyone wants to...
Go ahead.
And if anyone wants more about my case, they can go on to lucasvilleamnesty.org and learn more about the Lucasville uprising.
Thank you, Brother Hasan. Lots of love and struggle to you, and we're so grateful for your existence and your struggle.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Peace. Peace and love to everyone.